I want to look now at major constitutional breaches that have been undertaken by our Congress. The first is ownership and or management of broad landscape. Federal ownership or management of broad landscapes includes the implementation of the Wildlands Network. This is a violation of Article 1, the legislative branch, Section 8, the legislative powers of the United States Constitution. How does the federal government justify gobbling up much of the West's landmass? Why does the federal government direct management on much of the rest of the Western landscape? And the Department of Interior, how did that monster arise? What is the constitutional rationale? There is none. There is no constitutional authority for congressional land management. Constitutional authority for land ownership is set out in Article 1, Section 8. Congress has the power to exercise exclusive legislation in all cases whatsoever over such district, not exceeding 10 miles square, to become seat of the government of the United States and to exercise like authority over all places purchased by consent of the legislature of the state in which the same shall be. Here are the limitations. For the erection of forts, magazines, arsenals, dockyards, and other needful buildings. There's no mention of a need or authority for creating the Department of Interior for massive creation of wildland zoning anywhere in America. There is no original authorization for the various federal forest ownership or contemporary wildland bills that have been processed by Congress. The Constitution was written to protect the unalienable rights of the people, not to abrogate them through federal ownership of lands. So, who is Congress working for? There is a war on American ideals, and Congress is on the wrong side. Remember, government powers are granted under the Constitution. They cannot just be taken by a narrow mob of political frontmen seeking power and control over resources, and yet that is exactly what has happened. An easy example of this is the Endangered Species Act, which regards government authority over nature as superior to private property and the freedom that private property supports. Accordingly, land use decisions are directed through centralized authority. The Endangered Species Act is a major tool working in the ongoing abolition of private property. Defaulting to federal authority in the area of land and resource management is a huge mistake. Government parks should be determined and owned by states and or local governments. There is no federal authority for the ownership and management of parks and the resources they hold. Other congressional breaches of constitutional responsibilities include the delegation of trade policy to international institutions. Congress has delegated authority over U.S. trade policy to the World Trade Organization and to various multilateral pact organizations. This necessarily comes at the expense of sovereignty. The effects of surrendering trade policy include a disintegrating border. An example is the NAFTA agreement, which sets aside a 124-mile wide strip along the southern border, or a 200-kilometer wide international zone of cooperation. You see, though, even they're changing our system of measurements. 124 was a funny number, but 200 is the zone at the southern border now that represents this international zone. Next, constitutional taxing authority under Article 1, Section 9 has become neutered. The constitutionally intended form of taxation, known as indirect taxation, consists primarily of import and excise duties that are lost to the trade organization's so-called free trade requirements. It is not free trade that is being established. It is managed global trade. It is a managed global trade control being exercised over America. This policy is designed to economically equalize nations in accordance with the Earth Charter mandate to equalize wealth within and between nations. American industries, whole industries, are lost to the globalization process. Average American earner wages are reduced toward global norms. Multinational corporations profit mightily from cheap, often slave labor from overseas. A massive profit arrangement is protected by the World Bank from American duties. Domestic production is sacrificed, and America sinks. Managed free trade is designed to implement the Agenda 21 directive, to institutionalize multinational corporate economic control in partnership with world governance agencies. B, to redistribute America's wealth in accordance with the Earth Charter mandate. And 3, it is designed to neuter American sovereignty. The modern trade regime results in manufacturing job losses, starting with the shuttling of resource extraction activity. The consequence has been production leaves the U.S., finished goods are then imported, often from slave labor nations, always concentrating wealth into the hands of the global business partners of prospective world government. Prince Charles established the Sustainable Business Council with major multinational businesses led by British Petroleum. Globalist corporate coordination has occurred. The sustainable problem is much more than simply green. Another congressional long-standing abrogation of their constitutional responsibilities is the delegation of its monetary responsibilities to a globalist system of central banks, resulting in the loss of an honest monetary system. This is another breach of Article 1, Section 8. This time it regards the establishment and maintenance of central banking within a world system of central banking, the indispensable ingredient for making world government. Congress has no authority to delegate an exclusive monetary system authority to a third party. That is what happens when a central bank like the Federal Reserve is formed. This accounts for at least the financial aspect of the massive dilemma we face. The existence of central banks like the Federal Reserve allow for the printing of money necessary to fund the globalist movement, while accounting for its creation as debt owing from us. The monetary system is designed to cause a financial collapse, which allows opportunity to further consolidate and strengthen globalist power. America will need a new monetary system. Today, we must understand this issue if we are to avoid being trapped in an arranged future that has little regard for human life. The collapse of the monetary system appears to be in process now. The pattern begins to take form. The federal government has become an outpost of globalist authority. Now, the real muscle is being applied where it counts, in your community. Now, we have a place where we can effectively fight and defeat the grandest assault on liberty where it matters most, in your community. As government has prohibited resource extraction, they have created American dependency on other countries for almost everything. Your fifth grade child's school teacher will inform your child that the world has become interdependent, all designed to undermine the principles of the Declaration of Independence. But to the extent we are interdependent, it is simply because we can't tap our own resources to create our independence. We can't manufacture our own products to create our independence. We have been sucked for a number of decades into this global Goliath that is designed to eat up all of our rights.